Hello, everyone. Well, my name is Sara Ismail. I'm currently working in University Hospital Limerick in Ireland, and I faced this case when I was back in Kuwait. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be presenting today in Cardiac World Conference 2025. So let's begin our presentation. So the learning objectives of my presentation will highlight the atypical presentation of cardioembolic stroke. We're also going to discuss the challenging that we'll face in balancing the anticoagulants versus the bleeding risk. And thirdly, emphasize the importance of multidisciplinary management. So I have a 50-year-old Indian man was brought by the ambulance team with abnormal behavior. He was acting weird, agitated, and irritable, and the bystander mentioned that he vomited once. History was limited because of confusion and disturbed level of consciousness, and there is no past medical history or family history can be appreciated, no alcohol or smoking history. We tried to call his relative, but unfortunately wasn't available. And also we called one of the translator there for the possible language barrier, however, it deemed unsuccessful. So initial examination, his vital signs were stable, his blood sugar was high. At the time of when I assessed him, he was disoriented in time, place, and person. There was no focal neurological sign detected. Normal, he had the normal power reflexes and downgoing blanters. Also, it's worth mentioning that he doesn't have at that time neck stiffness or any cranial pulses, and his pupils are equally bilateral. Initial workup done, which including the full blood count, renal function, liver function, and coagulation profile were normal, along with serum troponin. His ECG showed signs of left ventricular hypertrophy, and most importantly, normal sinus rhythm. Chest X-ray was unremarkable. So we did a plain CT image as initial investigation for his confusion, which showed multiple non-hemorrhagic infarcts in multiple areas in the brain, including the right frontal. And we know that the right frontal lobe is responsible for the executive function and personality and behavior as well. And sometimes it can cause left or contralateral weakness, which is, in the case of our patient, it was present. However, the weakness wasn't there. Also, it involved the bilateral thalami. We know that the thalami is responsible for the consciousness as personality as well, along with the memory. And in our patient, he has these symptoms. Also, the infarct involved the right occipital and the left occipitotemporal, along with the left cerebellum. However, the patient doesn't have any symptoms of these lesions site. So during hospitalization, we admitted him under medical department, and we queried that it could be meningoencephalitis. That's why we started him in treatment. Also, one of our possibility was cardioembolic stroke, and we are knowing that his ECG was normal sinus rhythm. However, dual antiplatelet has been commenced. Acute alcohol withdrawal was one of the possibility, especially the patient mentioned that he's like seeing ants climb in his body. That's why we give him treatment for that. So during hospitalization, a multidisciplinary team has been involved. Cardiology team advised to do a full workup, including lipid profile, which showed that he's having dyslipidemia, and he seems to be having diabetes, which uncontrolled. Carotid Doppler has been done, which revealed there is eccentric plaques in multiple areas, including the right carotid bulb, the right subclavian, and the left proximal internal carotid arteries. On the other hand, neurology also came and reviewed the patient. They advised to do MRI imaging. It's more sensitive detecting any infarcts. And we performed cerebrospinal fluid to exclude the possibility of meningoencephalitis, which has came back negative. So, the cardiology doctors when they came and reviewed the patient, they advised for fast scan. However, because the patient was very irritable and agitated, they advised to wait until the patient is calm and to do the echocardiography. So in day 7 of hospital admission, departmental echo has done, which show there is interesting finding that there is mobile thrombus. It's relatively small, 1 in 0.5 centimeters with left ventricular hypertrophy, and he has a low ejection fraction of 40. Also, there is some hypokinesia in the anterior apical and apical segment with impaired relaxation of the diastolic filling. So if you can see here in the right-hand side, there is thrombus, very small. Okay. If I can play this video, okay, where is it? You can see the 4-chamber view showing the thrombus in the left ventricle. There is no smoke-like effect in the echo, but this explains the pathophysiology link on how the left ventricular thrombus will cause showering of the cardioemboli and causing the multiple infarcts the patient is having. So again, with this new finding, a multidisciplinary team was done for the adjustment and modification of his current therapy. So cardiologists advised to give him anticoagulant after neuromedicine agreement, either with warfarin or NUAC. And they advised to continue single antiplatelet, preferably clopidogrel. They also added beta blockers, statins, and ACE inhibitor to optimize the cardiac function. So neurology agree on giving warfarin with target INR 2 to 3. However, they advised to hold the clopidogrel but to continue on aspirin. They advised to do CT angiography because the patient has no relatives and there was no any history if there is any metal that can interfere with the patient image. And also they advised for psychiatric evaluation because he has abnormal behavior. Later on, CT angiography confirmed the multiple areas of infarction in the same areas that has been detected in the plain CT image. However, there was a new finding. There was there is increased interval in the left cerebral hemisphere hypodensity area demonstrated by edema, and it's causing interval mild effacement of the fourth ventricle along with new patchy development of hyperdensity suggested petechial hemorrhage, H1 type. And we know that from the acute stroke, cooperative acute stroke hemorrhagic transformation, that H1 is it's usually benign and it's small petechiae with no edema, and it doesn't affect the outcome significantly. But still, this will make a dilemma between the multiple teams in starting the anticoagulants. So the conflict was that the cardiology advised to hold anticoagulant and has been agreed by the neurosurgery as well. They also advised to follow the patient Glasgow Coma scale if there is any deterioration to do a CT image. The neuromedicine advised to continue an anticoagulant and mostly a short-acting anticoagulant guided by ABTT because the risk of recurrent stroke and embolization is very high. After we started him with heparin, the patient was having a stable condition and stationary course in CT brain and has been switched to oral anticoagulant along with antidepressant. The patient has been discharged in relatively good condition after his stay for about 4 months, but unfortunately, he is still disoriented in time, place, and person, and having a memory dysfunction as well. And unfortunately, there was no any family scene. So my take-home message is that Cardioembolic stroke secondary to left ventricular thrombus may present atypical with confusion and disorientation, even if there is no any lateralization on examination. And it can present atypically with a neuropsychiatric manifestation. Also, it's worth mentioning that the balance between anticoagulation therapy and the risk of hemorrhagic transformation will bring a significant challenge between multidisciplinary team, and individualized management need to be thought. The case also underscores the importance of multidisciplinary approach in managing the left ventricular thrombus to prevent further systemic embolization. So this is the end of my talk, and thank you for your attention.